Jonga apha sisi. Apha YouTube ecosystem there is a food chain. Zazuba ufolaphi. This is me, this is you, you know.
It's not the same. It's not the same, papi.
What is Umvela saying to English Premier League? Yay! Sanmanani, Dumelang, Absheni, Molweni, I hope you guys are good. I hope you guys are doing well. I don't want this introduction to be too long because we're going to be getting into something very juicy. Also, I am not moving away from the staple content of my YouTube channel. I just really wanted to weigh in on this because it's something that I have been following for the past couple of days and something that I found to be thoroughly entertaining. So yeah, basically this is the episode where you get to discover so we're going to be getting into that right about now. So if you frequent YouTube streets, and even if you don't, that's okay because I got your back, babe. I got your back. There is a new reality series that recently launched courtesy of Thato Rampedi called AreYoutubedIn. It premiered on the 27th of July and it has taken off since its first episode. It is basically the very first of its kind, so shout out to Thato for being all pioneering and stuff. And it basically follows the same format as All Big Brother and All Love Island. The only difference, I guess, then is the fact that, you know what, the cast members are YouTubers instead of random people. Some very popular, some relatively new faces. So that's basically the gist of the show. And this season is kind of like taken a Cape Town. And of course, you know, the production team kind of like, you know, outdid itself and gave us cinematic shots of the mother city and, you know, aerial shots of the area and just, you know, crashing waves and all of that. Ngati donkey. So we're going to be reacting to the very first episode. And basically, I hope to provide what will be an objective overview. So yeah, let's get into that. On the first episode of the show, we get introduced to some of the cast members or the cast members that got to feature on the first episode, and those are Kamogelo Laka, Salome Laka, we have Naledi, we have Zillewizzy, we have Clarissa, and Thato Rampedi. Now, I'm just going to fast forward to the climax of the first episode, which is when the tension broke out between two housemates, and that's Naledi and Ukamo. And I'm just going to give my observation of the two ladies individually. So Naledi comes across as somebody with a very strong personality. She comes through with with that alpha energy. She's very, very dominant. You can see how she kind of like takes charge, even in conversation. And even with the conversation where they were having like a discussion about what makes them distinct as YouTubers, she's kind of like directing the flow. And Thato says as much in his diary session.
So I didn't feel out of place in the conversation. I could see the ladies leading it, but Salome, Kamo, Zile, Khunze, they were kind of on the reserve side because they're still new to everyone.
So that's what I got about Naledi. And then there's Ukamo. Ukamo is also someone that strikes me as a very strong character, but again, she seems to be somebody that kind of like keeps to herself. She's very reserved, and even in the group setting, she's kind of like, I'm here and you guys are there, even though I'm like in your midst, but I'm still like kind of like removed, and so that's what I got. And so this is where signs of tension for me kind of like started showing the first time. So of course it's during the conversation where they're having, you know, this discussion about what sets them apart as YouTubers. And basically Zillewizzy's name comes up in the conversation, and Naledi makes this remark that because of how Zille's name is spelled, it doesn't make sense for her to pronounce it as Zillewizzy, so she is going to pronounce it as Zillewizzy. But that seems to rub Kamogelo off the wrong way, because then she kind of like expresses the fact that she finds it disrespectful.
First of all, you do not tell someone what their name is after they told you what their name is.
Gang signs and all. She's like, yeah. And ndibone apho ke. Yeah, okay, so you know there's some form of resistance that's kind of like surfacing here. Resistance and a lot of people have since come to Naledi's defense and said that, you know what, Naledi says a lot of things in jest, you know, in that tone. But I can see how it can be hard for somebody who isn't maybe, you know, who doesn't get to interact with Naledi's content, or maybe even kind of like is familiar with Naledi, to kind of see how she can come across as a little, what is the word? abrasive. So yeah, but we move on from that. The second time I see this tension sort of like arise is when, it's during the main event, which is games night. So the guys are playing all these different games, and during this one game, Zillewizzy is funding left, right, and center. And so Salome suggests that, he get punished because of it. And Naledi says that, suggests that, the punishment be that he sings every time it's his turn. But then Ukamu, just jumps to his defense. She activates that resistance again.
For what? Yeah, for what? No, because he kept losing purposefully. No, he was meant to keep quiet in this round.
She's got a lot of spunk, but then we move on from that. So now we kind of like get to the main event, like the main course, like the main meal, and they're still playing, like, it's still games night, they're playing, and only this time they're playing like a different game, but Ukamu is the one to fumble, and she drinks as they're supposed to, but Salome says that, Ukamu should sing, but Ukamu is not having that. She's activating that resistance again. And this is how it actually plays out.
I'm singing Gamo as well.
Not how? That's like my first penalty, kind of.
Yeah. You don't make the rules, baby.
No, but like, we didn't do that with He got so many chances and then he got penalty. Who makes you head
She is head of house. As my end.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. On this part, in particular, I found Naledi to be a bit overbearing, because what do you mean I don't make the rules, when I'm merely just indicating the fact that, the rules are not being applied uniformly here. That's not. She even goes on to provide precedent and says, that's not what you did with Uzile. Uzile had to fumble a number of times before you added this penalty of Pula. And so I kind of get where the pushback is coming from here.
The people actually went, how do you guys know that
in the 21st century, kids can teach adults?
Okay. So, you know what? When you have to kind of like put English on hold because it's too professional a language, and you kind of like have to address that's when you know that it's going down. And Ispitor is just one of those languages that when spoken, it just feels like, an altercation is inevitable. So age is just a number, my sister.
This is what I want.
Let's on 2000.
Moral support.
That's why I just how many subscribers do you have on YouTube? Exactly. Thank you. It says my name. Hanaki says it all. Okay. No. Yes.
Okay, so when Naledi says that, akasadlali, I'm thinking to myself, she's kind of like retreating. Kanti cha, usizosayolanda ama credentials ka YouTube. Ama credentials ka YouTube. Uyafika uthi jonga apha sisi. Apha kwa YouTube ecosystem there is a food chain. Zazuba ufolaphi. This is me, this is you,
It's not the same. It's not the same, papi.
What is Umvela saying to English Premier League? Yay!
Absolutely nothing, not to me, Bella. I think Naledi thinks she's a star, and wherever she goes, she wants to be treated like a star. So that's a problem, because then you have a big head over your shoulders, and then you come across people like me that don't give a fuck about what you have. I'm gonna take you for who you are now. And I think the problem is she did not expect that part.
Oh no. Day one, she's already found an enemy.
Went to the
I come back with another bar. I wasn't even close.
Okay, what
So
was I
what,
saying?
it depends on
Okay,
character.
everybody focus.
No ways,
Focus. Now, the real YouTubers are talking. And what I was saying was, as some
Yo. Kamogelo Laka. Yo, hey. Kamu.
You're a victim.
Here we go, CSI.
And this is actually, I think, the remarks that Naledi kind of like received flack for on socials, because I think Naledi is one of those, big YouTubers that have positioned themselves as, those that are kind of like looking out and uplifting those that are kind of like small and upcoming. So I think it may have been warranted, but at the same time, I kind of like understand just on a human level, which, you know what, sometimes we just want to drop, the diplomatic approach and kind of like take it there. And so, but with, great YouTube platforms comes, an equal amount of responsibility. So yeah, it's tough.
when you were saying again. It was a Ramadan. talking about the youngest can teach the oldest, but the oldest are teaching the youngest.
What are you teaching me?
Okay, guys, it's fine. Cut the camera, let's go. Let's start.
Isn't that you saying she's slow?
Don't cry, man. Just take the egg and be quiet. What I'm trying to say is,
I will do that actually. I'll make it easier for all of us.
That would be so good. Thank you. Where were we? The game. No, I'm on high feet. Let's also come I came.
Let's go.
Nah, guys, the thing is, if you give it to us, it's fine, let's go. No, it's hot. One thing about the kitchen, if you give it to us, take it like a G. You gotta be G about it.
Okay, Naledi, why'd you look at Thato like you want Thato?
You love Thato.
Okay, so this is the part of the show that kind of like had me side-eyeing it a little bit, because you know what, even the way that Ukam was kind of like sitting seems like, you know what, I'm getting ready to kind of like detonate a bomb. Now you get to ask the golden question, you know what, action, because she even seems a little bit too giddy for me. So I was like,
Out of the blue.
Aibo. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed the first episode. I think it kind of like it went over like a little over the 20-minute mark, but it didn't feel like it at all. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So shout out to everybody that's part of the production. Are you tuned in? I'm definitely going to be.